Hey you guys, fun fact, so it turns out if you don't have the fan on in the background, you don't get any background noise. Boy howdy, learning sure is fun! Next week I can look into where rain comes from and see if it has anything to do with the mysterious sky marshmallows. So I stopped being dumb and I turned the air conditioner off. Shouldn't be any background noise in this one. So when I was looking into the ReZero stuff, I happened upon a trial deck that caught my eye. Mainly because it was for an old mobile game that I used to play called Chain Chronicle. It was a pretty basic little strategy game. It's pretty much a dime a dozen now, but back then, it had kind of a unique concept. When I noticed the trial deck, I actually went back onto the Play Store to see how the game was doing, and apparently it's not even on the American Play Store anymore, so I guess it's doing a lot better in Japan. Taking the shock a step further, there's actually an anime associated with Chain Chronicle. I don't really know or particularly care which one came first, but it's just weird that this little mobile game I used to play has apparently such a huge influence. On top of that, when I was looking up wallpapers, this is one of the first wallpapers that showed up. How did I not know about this? It's so weird. All that doesn't matter though. Today we're going to be taking a look at the trial deck. First snap of the new mic. Hiya! As always, if you just need to net deck the deck list, and here it is, please enjoy. All I ask is that you leave me a like on your way out. For the rest of us, the first neat thing you'll notice is there are no one-ofs in this deck. So if you buy 2 copies of the Chain Chronicle trial deck, you actually have the full set of Chain Chronicle cards. Good job. So is it worth picking up in the first place? Let's find out. So 18 zeros, pretty heavy, probably not so bad when you take out all of the level 0 vanillas. Huh? No level 0 vanillas, you say? Well, this is gonna get interesting. So our first level 4 is Juliana the Holy Princess, and we get 4 copies. During your opponent's turn, as long as all of your characters are mana characters, this gains +1 level and plus 1500 power. To my knowledge, all of the characters are mana characters, so that's interesting. But anyways, I really like this character. I think this is a good level 0. During your opponent's turn, he gets plus 1500 power, going up to 4000 naturally, and it also gains +1 level, so if your opponent's got them Suiciders in their hand, guess what? Their Suiciders are useless. It's a great card, and the fact that we get 4 of them in just one trial deck is pretty awesome. Our other 4 is Fina the Chronicle User, although her name becomes much more hilarious when you call her Fina the Chronic User. When she comes into play, you can look the top 2 cards of your deck and put them back in the same order. Okay. But she also has Brainstorm. Now isn't that interesting? You only get to see half of the cards that you're brainstorming, but still, just getting to see 2 of them is pretty darn good. Next up is Fina, along with the hero. She gives all of your other Yuri chain attacks plus 2000 power, and coincidentally just happens to bond with one. We'll be taking a look at Yuri chain attack a little later, but just trust me, it's a pretty darn good strategy. 2 copies of our level 0 assist. Characters in front of her get plus 500 power, and she can also put herself in the waiting room when one of your other mana characters is placed from stage to the waiting room to save that character. So holy cow, the hits just keep on coming. Essentially what she does is she encores another character by sacrificing herself. It's funny, the only thing that might almost hold this card back is how good our back row is so far. Aram, new face of the Volunteer Army. Whenever you attack with it, you can look at the top card of your deck, and if it's a mana character, you can put it in your hand and discard a card. I know I'm just saying that all these cards are good, and I'm kind of running out of adjectives, but this is also really good. Part of what makes it so fantastic is we have another card that lets us look at the top 2 cards of our deck. So, nice. We've got one more Aram in the form of New Hope. At the start of your opponent's attack phase, you can move this to 1 empty slot on your front row. Less good. Interesting. It's definitely an interesting ability, and in most trial decks this would be considered a pretty good card, but it's okay. It's definitely alright. I think probably the coolest way you could use this card is if your opponent isn't attacking with all 3 spaces, you could just keep this in an open space pretty much all game, and make sure that you always have an attacker. That's good. Rounding off our level 0s, we have Burkhart, Shield of the Holy Princess. Burkhart. Who names their child Burkhart? Reinhardt. Lionheart. I'd even take Sieghart. But Burkhart. That's disgusting. Anyways, it locks a character in place. The character opposite of this can't move. That could be useful, I guess, if you're at sort of the higher levels and you need to keep one of your other characters safe. You could put this in front of one of your opponent's powerhouses and it has to attack. Alright. And its other effect is it gets plus 1500 power during the turn it's put in play. Okay. Again, this definitely isn't as powerful as the other cards we saw, but I could see it being useful, and in another trial deck, this would probably be absolutely phenomenal. Next up, let's take a look at our level 1s. Not quite as explosive as level 0, but it's still got some pretty good stuff. So yes, we do get 4 copies of the 5500 level 1 vanilla. I'm actually pretty okay with it in this case though, for 2 reasons. 1, we have a level 0 that can bond with it, so if we need to clock it to draw 2, or if it happens to end up on our discard pile through Brainstorm or something, it's completely fine, because we can just bond it back out and it's free to play. And 2, the same level 0 can power it up by 2000 for each one you have in play. So if you happen to have 2 of that level 0 sitting in the back, this is a 9000 during your turn. 9000 is really good at level 1. I'd say the only real problem with that is it's definitely going to die during your opponent's turn, but even then you could technically save it with our level 0 assist if you really wanted to. Wouldn't recommend it, but you could, and that's important. We get 2 copies of a level 1 backup, Brainstorm and backup. Brainstorm and backup. Holy cow, this is a great deck. 2 copies of Machidia? I don't know. 2 copies of Big Sister like Archer. When your other mana characters attack, this gets plus 1000 power, maximum of 7000. That's actually not great. That's, like I said before, it's decent. This deck doesn't seem to have any bad cards in it. It has decent cards and really good cards. And this is in the first category. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's a little overshowered by our 5500 vanilla though, because our 5500 vanilla can go up to a maximum of 9500, and that's really good. And it also has a card that bonds with it. Our final level 1 is Kane Young Knight. And for each of your other mana characters, this gets plus 500 power. This is actually really good. In fact, I would argue that this might actually be better than our strategy with the 5500 vanilla. And let me explain why. If you have 4 other characters in play, and they're all mana of course, this is an 8000, and if you have 2 characters in the back row, and those 2 characters are your level 0 assist, this is actually 9000. So that's nice, and the cool thing about that is it actually lasts during both turns. Of course you lose the ability to bond, but you sort of make up for that with the fact that this won't immediately die on your opponent's turn. Our level 2 lineup is a little bit smaller, but let's take a look and see what it's got to offer. 2 copies of Fina, Girl Who Owns the Chronic, and that's illegal. You can't have that stuff, Fina. What are you doing? So its first effect gives your character in the front row center slot Super Encore. That is awesome. Its second effect gives level assist. Awesome. Okay, so our first level 2 is just a really good back row assist character. I can dig it. Next up, 2 copies of Yuri Counting on Future. This is part of a really neat combo that the deck has set up. If you have Aram Mana Talent in play, this gets plus 4000 power, going up to 10,500. And when this is put in play, if you happen to have an Aram Mana Talent in your discard pile, then you can just discard a character from your hand to put that card into play. You don't have to pay costs or anything. That's really good. That is exactly the same as having it in your hand and not having to pay for it, because you're losing 1 card from your hand either way. And with this kind of effect, you can just sacrifice off a level 0 or a level 1 or something you don't need and turn it into a character that is very useful, because having it in play makes this a 10,500. So you'd think the trade-off here would be that Aram actually sucks, but no, Aram's pretty good too. If you have Yuri Counting on the Future in play, then this goes up to 10,500 as well. Plus, you also get plus 500 power for each of your other mana characters, just like the other one does. So this goes up to a maximum of 12,500. 12,500, 1 mana. Holy cow. Oh my god, I just caught myself. I said mana instead of stock. Oh, I'm not editing that. So essentially, for one stock, you can get two 10,500 characters, and one of them can go up to 12,500 as long as you play Counting on the Future, and then you get this card into play. It's a really, really good combo for level 2. I don't know what else to say about it. Obviously, the downside here is the fact that you are definitely going to die during your opponent's next turn, but there's plenty of ways around it. The character that we looked at before that gives these characters Super Encore if they're in the middle slot, that's really good. And you also have the other one that can send itself to the waiting room to save a character. That's really good. It's good. It's good, guys. It's really good. So to round us off, we have Einslot, Head of the Holy Paladin. He's the only character in our level 2 slot that can swing for 2 soul, which is nice. He has Super Encore, super nice. Having a 2 soul attacker, Super Encore, so good. And finally, he has plus 2,000 power during your opponent's turn if all you have are mana characters in play, which you will. So this is a pretty good card to round us off with. If your opponent is playing a little bit weaker than you, maybe you're on level 2 and your opponent's still on level 1 or something, this is a way better play than the other ones, because you don't really need the extra power, and the extra soul damage will make them catch up to you in level a lot faster. Alright, 2 copies of 2 different level 3s. Let's go. So Yuri of the Volunteer Army, if this is in your front row, all of your mana characters get plus 1,500 power. Let me repeat that in case you didn't catch it. All of your mana characters get plus 1,500 power. That includes this. So if you have light that shows bond in your climax zone, you can pay 1 stock, and if you do, this gets plus 1,000 power, and you can reveal the top card of your deck. If it's level 1 or lower, deal 1 damage to your opponent. Okay, it's got to be level 1 or lower. That's cool, I guess, but you know, it's only going to be like half your deck, and then you don't really get anything if it's another... Just kidding, guys! If it's not a level 1 card, you deal 2 damage instead of 1 damage. 1 stock, 0 downsides, and you get even more power on top of the 1,500 you're giving yourself and everybody else. Whew. I just need to calm down for a second. It's a good effect. Our other level 3 is Juliana, Female Knight. During your opponent's turn, if all your characters are mana, this gains plus 2,000 power. That's awesome. And when this is placed from hand to the stage, you can heal 1. So, it's a little basic compared to the other one, but it's still really good. The deck also has an event we're going to look at. Events like this are normally nothing special, so this should be over pretty quickly. Yeah, reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a mana character, put it in any slot of the stage. What? Wait a second, how much does this cost? Nothing? So, wait a second. At level 2, you reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a character, you play it for free. Guys, are we sure this is a trial deck? I don't think this is a trial deck, guys. Nope, just did a Google search. You can get it on eBay for like 25 bucks. This is an official trial deck. I'm not even going to insult your intelligence by explaining to you why it's good. I'm not going, we're done. We're done talking about it, okay? No more. These are the climaxes. You get 4 of the 1 included in the climax combo and 2 of the others. 2 door triggers and 2 plus 2 soul triggers. That's probably a really good balance. It's kind of a shame that Light That Shows Bond doesn't have a trigger, but oh well, it's a balance, you know. It's still really, really good, but if Light That Shows Bond had the door trigger instead, whoo boy, this would be really, really nice. So here we are, guys. I tried to make it a little shorter than normal because I normally ramble on forever. But honestly though, what do I think of the deck? I think I'm in love with it. I think this is a really cool deck. In fact, in my personal opinion, I think this might be my favorite trial deck that I've ever seen. Not only is it good, okay, I just talked for 15 minutes about how good it is. We know it's good, okay, it's a good deck. But it's also really good for beginners who know a bit about the game and want to step up their game. It's got combos in it. It makes you think about managing resources. It's got Brainstorm, and it's even got a card to supplement Brainstorm and make it a little easier to play around and pull off. It's got a backup card, so you can, you know, mess around with backups and see if it's something that you like. It's got a healer at level 3. It's got a really good event card. It's got everything that a newbie really needs to step up their game. And I highly, highly, highly recommend that if you know somebody that's new, or if you're new yourself and you're just looking for a deck that's good and fun to play, this might be it. Another thing, I know that the art is probably just screenshots from the anime I've never seen, but the art looks pretty decent too. A lot of the times you get stuff like this, like you get like the Persona 4 deck, for example. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but Persona 4 deck's artwork, in fact, the entire set artwork's kind of the cards here look good, they play good, and they're good for beginners. This might be the perfect trial deck. I know someone in the comments going to point out a bunch of trial decks that are better than this one. Okay, it might not be the absolute best trial deck. It might not be perfect, but it's a lot of fun, and it's really good, and I think people should look at it. It'll be around a lot longer than the phone game, that's for sure. So here's the part of the review where I tell you how to fix up the deck and make it more competitive. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret, okay? Come in close for this one. The deck is already really good and you don't have to change anything. But this wouldn't be a Kudou-kun video if I just left it there and didn't tell you guys what to do with the deck at the end. So what I'm going to do, instead of teaching you how to build a sort of more competitive version of the deck, is I'm going to show you how to build a slightly more fun version of the deck that will change it up a little bit. And it's a little gimmicky. It's definitely not as solid as just the regular one trial deck build, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you really have access to 2 copies of the trial deck and you want a really fun, gimmicky version of the deck, make the following changes. At level 0, take out Buckheart and take out Fina along with the hero. Don't get me wrong, the along with the hero thing is a really good strategy, but we're going to do something a little cheesy, so we don't need it. Put in 2 more copies of Aram, New Face of the Volunteer Army, because it lets us cycle through our deck, and it lets us hit our level 1s quicker, which we're definitely going to need, and you'll see why. By the way, when you're using his effect, don't forget that you can totally ditch all of your Aram mana talents as much as you want to, because you can get them right back with Yuri. So, yeah, just something to keep in mind. At level 1, take out every card except for Kane and add 2 copies. That's right, we're only going to run 1 level 1 at level 1, and we're going to max it out to 4 copies. With Aram, guaranteeing we can get to that level 1 should be a little bit easier, and, you know, as long as we're playing properly and clocking the right cards, it shouldn't be that big of a deal only having 1 level 1, but we'll see. At level 2, take out Einslot. Love him to death, super great card, but we don't need him. Put in 2 more Aram and 2 more Yuri. We are definitely going to take advantage of those two's combo ability. Keep Fina where she is, because we're going to need a way to keep them alive a little bit, so go ahead and keep her where she is. We're definitely going to be able to use that back row ability, the Super Encore I mean. Now with all this extra space we have, put in 2 more of each of the level 3s and 2 more of the event. So our idea here, right, is we're going to maximize the usefulness of the event, and we're also going to maximize the usefulness of our Yuri level 3. The event will take whatever card is on top of our deck and let us play it for free, so we might as well have the top card of our deck be most likely a level 2 or a level 3. You can also check the top card of your deck by using the level 0 Brainstormer, because you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck, and if the top card is something you like, then play the event card and play it for free. With Yuri level 3, if you happen to hit that ability and you hit a level 2 or a level 3, then you get 2 damage instead of 1. So we're just going to max out our 2s and our 3s and hope that this strategy pans out. Again, I want to reiterate, this is incredibly gimmicky, incredibly cheesy, but also kind of hilarious. So if you just want a competitive version of the deck, buy 1 trial deck. The trial deck you get is going to be just fine. Oh, this video was a lot longer than I wanted it to be. I was hoping for about 15 minutes, but I guess with me that's just impossible. So what are your thoughts on the deck? Leave them in the comment section below, along with suggestions on what you'd like to see me cover next. Don't forget to leave me a like, those things really do help us out. And finally, subscribe to stay up to date on the latest Kudou news. Until next time, enjoy your card games, nerd!